Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. Today's guest is Lisa Hyde. Lisa Hyde epitomizes today's woman. She is the author of Be StrongHER, a guide to building confidence. She is an entrepreneur, beauty, health, and wellness expert, retail trend spotter, sought after public speaker, and advisor to the next generation of entrepreneurs with the Confidence Crown podcast. Lisa offers hard-won wisdom gleaned from working as a talent agent and manager for 12 years in the entertainment industry. The Confidence Crown podcast is where Lisa shares insights and experiences in successfully building a brand, overcoming adversity, and supporting other entrepreneurs. Get ready to go on an adventure of self-discovery and learning how to live a healthy and confident life. Today we talked about Lisa's relationship where she got advice from her client who was Dr. Drew. And it was it was life-changing advice. And I also share some of my own personal stories. I really just felt like we were talking to somebody today. I just had that feeling that somebody really needed to hear and learn and from our raw and painful experiences. So this promises to be deep, and I hope everybody gains greater confidence and a better understanding of their worth and value. Without further ado, I want to welcome the one, the only Lisa Hyde to the Sisterhood of Sweat.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. You are awesome. I love this.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I feel like I know you already, though I just met you.
I love the virtual world we have. It's amazing.
I knew I was going to love you. I was reading all of your stuff that your agent sent over, and then I listened to her on somebody that's been on my podcast, and I just don't know why I can't remember their name right now.
It's okay. It'll come to you at 3:00 in the morning.
Maybe when I'm having a little caffeine today. Maybe when I have a little more caffeine, it'll come to me. But I loved your message and everything you had to say. You were so bubbly and right down my lane. Like, I am all about helping women with their confidence and self-esteem.
Yes.
And you are creator of the Confidence Crown, and she just wrote a book, you guys.
I wrote a book. It's crazy.
Called StrongHER.
Yes. A guide to building confidence, because we want to help everybody feel the way you and I do.
Well, absolutely, because they wouldn't end up in terrible relationships.
True that.
when you know your value and your worth, and you have confidence that you can make it no matter what on your own, that you don't need to have somebody.
Bingo.
You're less likely to put up with crap you shouldn't, to put it mildly.
No, on the nose. And I will say, people still question me, why aren't you married? Why don't you have kids? Timing, and I'm not settling. I've been through the bad relationships. I've seen it. Every single human in my family was divorced and remarried. Like, I don't want that life for me. I am doing everything I can not to make those mistakes. Am I too picky? Maybe. But I'm really happy with myself and I'm having a good time.
I know. And you guys, she used to work in entertainment for 12 years. And I just have to bring up this story. She was assistant to Dr. Drew, and you're backstage with him, and he gave you some advice. Can you share that with the listeners?
Yeah, actually, he was my client, and we were backstage in a green room before he was going on stage, and I was having a lot of problems with the relationship that I was in. Now, I'm supposed to be professional. I'm in my 20s. I'm thinking I'm putting on a good face. Well, he could read right through it. And he asked me, he's like, sit down. He's like, tell me what's going on. And I'm like, nothing. I'm fine. What are you talking about? I'm good. And he's like, Lisa, what's going on with you? And I proceeded to tell him that the person I was involved with, the man I was living with, he had actually a serious mental illness. I mean, his depression was really deep and dark, and it was kind of just unraveling. And, I had to ask him, I didn't really want to tell him because I was like, it's Dr. Drew, he's my client. This is so weird. But I asked him about Wellbutrin. I'm like, what do you think of Wellbutrin? And he was like, it's actually really good. If you have some type of depression, why? What? Like, Lisa, where are you going with this? And then that's when I felt like I was comfortable enough to tell him what was happening. And I got to tell you, his words hit me so to my core, because he looked at me, he grabbed me after I explained the depression and the issues and the drug habit. My boyfriend at the time was trying to self-medicate. So he was on prescription medications and being treated by a doctor, but he was using pot, marijuana, CBD, whatever the hell you want to call it today. He was using that to self-medicate. And I had an addict for a father. So it was very hard for me to be in this relationship and be supportive and not always knowing this stuff was happening when I wasn't around. So it was kind of this whole seeing it all start to unravel. And Drew just grabbed me and he's like, Lisa, he shook me. He's like, this is not your problem to fix. I need you to turn around and run as fast as you can. And the caretaker, the caregiver, the fixer, everything in me, everything I know about myself, I was like, eventually. And he's like, no, now. This is not your problem to fix. And again, I was in my 20s. This was a very serious relationship. We were talking about getting married. And I thought, no, I have to help this person. I have to fix them. And I took Drew's very, very good advice. And I kind of let it sit with me for a few weeks. And then I kind of created a plan, an exit plan. Because I realized what was happening as we were getting closer and closer to where we were going in our relationship, that his parents wanted me to take care of their son that they couldn't be troubled with. It was a very wealthy family. They were going to basically buy me off to take care of their problem. And I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not repeating this life. This was all of a sudden I could see my father, I was having every flashback from childhood happening. I was like, oh no. So sorry, in my own selfish way, this is the only way I remember how the exit worked, which was, must have been in April, Academy Awards, because that's when it used to always be. I watched the whole show because that's my happy time. And then when the show ended, I told him I was leaving. Because I was I wanted to get through the show. I didn't want to have a fight during the show. So at the end, I was like, hey, I can't do this anymore. And I'm out. And you have a professional. I stayed around long enough to make sure he had a good doctor, that he was being given the right prescriptions, but he wasn't willing to do the other stuff. So I was like, I'm out. It was gross. It was hard. I got cut off from everyone and every person that I knew. I had actually known this person in this family since I was 16 and I was 28 when this happened. So my whole life changed. I was kind of banned from everything, from everyone. I got cut off. It was hard.
28 is magic age. I remember my counselor saying, he's a ticking time bomb. Mm-hmm. Do you really want to stick around for him to go off again? These things, they just stick in your mind, and you may be afraid at the time to take action, but deep down in your heart when you're in a bad situation where you really do need to take action.
Linda, it was crazy. So it's actually a really good story. I mean, this relationship's a really good example of all those things. We had dated. Okay, this is someone I had known for years. We actually started dating. We'd been 6 months, and then we actually moved in together, which is a whole other story. But I knew the second week that I moved in that I needed to leave. It took me 2 years to do it. So, and that part of me is I don't want to admit I failed. I don't want to admit I'm wrong, that I made a mistake. This person can get better. Like all those things you tell yourself inside, when it's always an individual's choice to get better. It's always an individual's choice to make improvements. You can be a supportive sideline person, but you cannot fix anyone. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn. It took many years, many
It
years.
is a hard lesson. And because I grew up with a manic depressive mother, I was always the person being the strong one, the helper, the encourager. And
Mm-hmm.
I think like I felt sorry. I
Mm-hmm.
felt sorry for my husband when like I
Yeah.
wanted to help him and fix him. And I think that that's when you might recognize you should run
Yeah. Yeah. I
because you
mean,
should marry somebody because you complement each other and you both bring something to the table that you can share.
absolutely. You should be lifted up by your partner. They should be as encouraging to you as you are to them. And for
Building you
many,
up.
many years, yeah, I mean, I feel like it was always me like pushing, helping, growing, doing all this stuff for them. And I wasn't taking care of me. And they weren't taking care of me. So it was like, whoa, who's actually getting anything out of this relationship? So yeah, it was years of learning and trial and error. But I will say that fixer started as in childhood for sure. My parents got divorced when I was 2.5. I remember in elementary school helping friends, like fixing, that boy on the playground, he's so cute, I like him, what do I do? Oh, he made me cry. Like I was fixing people my whole life. And at 16, I had a therapist who taught me about toxic people. Like that and the Dr. Drew story, the two pivotal moments when people looked at me and said, you have a choice here and you can walk away from this, and that doesn't make you a bad person. And that was really empowering. And because otherwise I would have thought, oh, I'm so bad I gave up. Mm-mm. I took care of me. That was
Well, I think
survival.
as women, we're
Yeah,
nurturers. And sometimes that feels selfish, but
totally.
it's okay to be selfish in the regards of putting your own oxygen mask on first.
Absolutely. I use that as a great example. Self care is not selfish. You have to, self love is not selfish. You have to put yourself first. You can't be a good partner, parent, anything if you don't fix this first.
Yeah. And also, I think we need to ask more questions
Oh, yeah.
and be brave enough when we are going into a relationship to really ask questions. What
And that,
questions do you wish you would have asked?
oh, God, that's so long ago. I ask them now. I mean, I'm really clear, I think, with people now. I live a really healthy lifestyle. Again, growing up with a father who was an addict and alcoholic, I don't find any of that entertaining or fun. So I need people who are also very healthy minded, who don't need to create kind of a false environment to feel good. So I need people to have fun and love life, regardless if they're taking some type of supplement. You know what I mean? Like it's because it's not my life. And I think it's been hard over the years. One, being in entertainment for so long, I was just around so much addiction that it was just hard to meet people of quality who weren't using of some sort, even just to mask their own depression. Um, so now it's very, very clear. Like I don't want to go party. Like I enjoy, don't get me wrong. There's vacation Lisa and there's real life Lisa. And if we're on vacation, whatever the hell is going on. But real life Lisa is, I'm independent. I put work first. I put my health first. I need to be a strong human for others. And I am a super giving person in a relationship, but if I'm not getting that back, I don't waste my time. I don't have the time for it right now. There's just too much going on.
Well, I just think having the situation that you had with your dad and having the situation that I had with my mother being suicidal and manic depressive, that it kind of, you have these defense mechanisms and also you see what's going on and you want to save the person. And
Absolutely.
so it kind of stems into all areas of your life and you're a giver.
Yeah.
like I was a giver. And so givers have to be aware of takers and
Hmm.
toxic people, like what you said. Like, you know, is the person giving as much to you, or are you doing all the giving?
Yeah. And I'm an empath as well.
Oh
So
gosh.
yeah, no. So, I want to help everyone. It's instinctively in me. I see a wounded animal and I want to fix them. I have to pick and choose my battles. And I also have to kind of create this bubble. I think I've been told I have a 12-foot bubble around me that I have to put up in the morning and let down at night. And it's not because I don't want to get close to people, it's so that their negativity doesn't seep into my life. And again, it was something that I had to learn and practice and figure out because I can easily get swept up into someone's negative talk.
Because
So I
because you
fix it
sincerely want to help them. And I just
100%.
have to laugh because the whole empath thing, I was reading something about, what was it, a vampire, not letting, like, it was by Christine Northrup, the book where empaths are, they've got vampires around them just sucking the life out of them. And a lot of it is because we feel like, I walk into a room and I feel
Mm-hmm.
all the feelings, like I feel what's going on. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I usually could hit right on something someone's trying to hide because I pick up on all of that. And
Yeah.
she just talks about this in the book. And just, it was a funny story where she says, it's the energy stemming from you that even light bulbs will flicker.
I love
Right.
it. Love it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I have to laugh because I read this and I'm like going into a bathroom, the light bulbs are flickering. I'm going upstairs in the closet, the light bulbs are flickering. It's probably the first time I thought it was me and not just the faulty light bulb.
Right.
And then I go to therapy and the whole lights just go off after I.
Oh my. Hello, there's a message being sent. That's a sign. You're supposed to be acknowledging it.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Anyway, I just thought it was kind of a funny story.
No, but it's the truth. I mean, that's the thing is, again, the immediate want is to help. And then you have to like pull back and be like, okay, if this person actually wants to take action, if they want to truly take some steps to improve themselves, I'm in and I will coach you through it. But if they're just going to take and take and take and tell the same story over and over and over, and they're not taking your advice, they're not taking any steps to grow or change themselves, I have to back away. I just have to say, I'm sorry, but I can't. I don't have time for this right now. You
So you
let me
learn
know when you're
learn
ready.
something.
Put your hand up when you're ready to do the work, and I'm there for you.
Well, you learn boundaries,
Yeah, it was hard.
because I think growing up with your dad being an addict and the way I grew up, there were not proper boundaries set
Correct.
in my life. So I really didn't understand proper boundaries. Now, as an adult, I'm still learning that. So I think
Yeah.
boundaries are really an important issue, and being strong enough and courageous enough to recognize and set them in your life.
Absolutely. And it probably is one of the hardest things for people to do, particularly women. Because again, instinctively people pleasers, you don't want to ever look like you're being difficult or whatever the stuff is out there in society that makes you think you have to be a certain way. You need to be true to yourself. And if you're somebody who overfeels, you gotta set up some boundaries for yourself
You
or
do,
you're only hurting yourself.
because you're totally a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And like, I would go into my space and maybe be helping somebody with something, and I would carry that,
Yeah.
whatever that was, because you're absorbing all of the feelings, and almost carry it like it was my own. I
Hmm.
would come home and then I started recognizing, oh, okay, that's draining me because I was pouring out my energy to help this person.
Yeah.
And then I took their problem on as my own. That's draining me. I have to be aware of that because of who I am.
Totally. And it is hard because sometimes these are, people very close to me, they're friends, and I always want to be there for my friends, but there's a point and a time where I have to be like, hey, I need a little time out. I can't work on this with you right now. But again, put your hand up when you're ready to do some of the work, because you keep asking me for help. When you're ready to do the work, I'm here for you.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's
goodness.
it's we learn this as we as we get older. There's something about, you know, coming into your own, and again, learning what you love, what you like, what you need, what you don't need, but creating healthy boundaries, learning when to say no, and really, really putting your own mental and physical health as a priority. It makes all the difference in everything else in your world. It doesn't matter if we're talking about business or personal. If you can get that stuff straight, you're off to a great start.
Yeah, and you were talking about your counsel, Drew, who's like,
Yeah.
counsels everybody, uh, telling you to run.
Run.
And I remember going to a therapist and telling him just about these feelings I was having about this particular person. Because I'm such a people pleaser, I was worried, am I giving them enough?
Oh,
And
yeah.
in the relationship before, it was always, what can I do better? What did I do wrong? Like,
Right.
I was putting everything on myself, worried about, was I giving them enough? But these are the feelings I'm having around this person. I feel like they're sucking the life out of me. I feel like that they're friending all of my friends and all of my philosophies and my ideas, and my intellectual property is becoming theirs. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know where I start and they begin, or I end anymore. Like, this was the feelings I was having. This
Mm-hmm.
counselor asked me all these questions, and then she said, first she told me to go home and watch All About Eve
Oh, that's great.
with
That's
Betty
awesome.
Davis. If
Yes.
you guys will have to check out that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then she said to me, you need to get that person out of your life, and you need to get them
Mm-hmm.
out now, or they're going to
Yeah.
suck you dry and leave you an empty shell.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, that's a little strong. Like, at the time I was just like, really?
Oh, yeah. And again, in back of your head, like, but if I can help them get over this, then they'll be okay. And then we can get back to the relationship we had at the beginning. No.
I don't like confrontation. I like
Yeah.
peace.
No.
I like love. I'm a people pleaser. And so I'm thinking about it. And then every week she'd say, did you do it yet? I'm like, no.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, She's like, do you think you need to do it? I'm like, yes. And then something more. And then finally I did.
Yeah.
And
No, it took months after Drew said that to me. I wasn't an immediate, like I went home and I did it. I had to like think it through. I had to figure out how much more could I really handle, and then when could I make the break? And it was tough, but I did have to kind of make a plan, because I had to figure out like where I was going to go. Like I had already given up my own place. I'd already, I'd moved in with this person. I'd given up my own space. I was going to have to start over. So I had to kind of like put all those pieces together. Now, thankfully, it wasn't an abusive relationship, like a physical abusive, where you're
mine was,
like,
yeah.
right, where you need to like get the hell out
Yeah.
at that moment. Like there is no sticking around for that. Mine was more just, again, watching somebody, drift away, and then that parental thing come in, and then them wanting to buy me off to keep me there so I could do the work that they didn't want to do. Sorry about that. I was like, oh, hell no. This is not the life I signed
Well,
up
to
for.
me, that's really sad, and it indicates the problem and why it's there in the
Oh,
first place.
absolutely. But, they couldn't have that child embarrass them, in society.
Oh
So
my
let
gosh.
give it to her to fix. I'm like, oh, this is not the life I want. So yeah, I mean,
Well,
it was rough. It was tough. But I tell you, I'm so thankful that I took the recommendation, that I stuck to my guns. I left. I didn't look back. I never looked back after that. I was like, oh no, I am so happy. I mean, again, I told you, I lost a whole circle of friends. I lost businesses. I lost a lot by doing that.
but you gain so much.
But I'm here and I'm alive, and I'm not
you
Miserable.
gain so much
Yeah.
because moving forward, when you really look back at everything, like I had to leave everything. Like when I
Yeah.
left my ex-husband, I left, like I didn't know if I would have anything. Like I'm just like, I got two kids to take care of, and I have
Yeah.
never worked full time in my life.
Oh,
But I know that I am not going to stay in this mess.
no, no. And that propels you
You
too to
know,
do amazing things. You find the power that you have
you
when you're in that
realize that the
situation.
power, I'm going to be Glinda here
Yeah,
instead of Linda. You had the power all along.
absolutely. I mean, that's it too. People, I think that's part of that confidence factor. And what people don't understand is unless you have gone through a quantity, any loss, and learned how to bounce back from it, you don't quite understand. But it's those that stay stuck in the what happened before. I could use the narrative. I'm from a broken home. All the men in my life treated me this. I mean, I could stay in this negative narrative, and guess what? I am never going to be a happy person. Or I can use those experiences that help mold me and see how I can take that power and make something good out of it and do something else with myself. But don't stay stuck in that narrative. Just because it happened to you does not mean you have to be that person for the rest of your life. You really don't. And I think women in particular get sucked into, again, I failed. The marriage, something failed. And so I'm a bad person and it's all my fault. And hey, take that lesson and turn it into your power and get the hell out and make a change. Like that's it. That is fight or flight. Like you cannot stay in that negative space and expect anything
You
else
have
in your life to change.
you have to.
Totally. Totally.
Absolutely. I mean, because if you don't, then it's going to be you. Like
Yeah.
you're going to become that in
The
that.
more you talk about it, the more you become it. Some ways like, hey, why don't you talk about something? Talk about your great kids. Talk about how much they bring joy to your life. Like focus on that. You might be upset and miserable because your marriage just ended, but stop talking about it. Like it is over. There is no fixing it. There's no going back. You have to go forward. But if all you talk about is, oh, I failed. I was so bad. I was a horrible, what? Stop. First of all, you weren't, but stop saying it because the more you say it, the more it becomes true. So yeah.
Well, I think you are what you say you are.
100.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You are what
And,
you say you are.
and if you keep repeating, I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I'm not smart, I'm not pretty, I'm not, well, guess what? You're becoming that thing. I mean, just why not talk about all the good things? I have my health, I love my job. I love my kids. I have wonderful friends. Like, there you go. It's that simple tweak. It's not, it's not about redefining yourself all in one day. You don't have to become Wonder Woman in one day. Just take the steps to go forward.
And you really, when you're in a mess, sometimes you need to speak to your friends. You need to speak to your loved ones. You need to speak to a therapist. You need to get outside of the box that you're in because you're too close to it to recognize what's being done to you. And you have to trust your intuition and what
Totally.
you're feeling in your heart. Because,
Right.
A lot of
And
the
if
times, go
all of
ahead.
your friends, sorry, but if all of your friends and your therapist is telling you the same thing, there's a sign there. Like, listen, they all have your best interest at heart. They wouldn't say these things to you if they didn't believe that there was a better option for you.
And I can just remember being in my situation and having friends talking to me like, I don't know how many more times can you get your nose broken, or like to just really shock me into reality.
Yeah.
um it's up to you. That's your choice. Like, just being in this situation, him telling me, well, get out there and stand on your own 2 feet, and doing it. The day came when I did.
Yeah.
Call the cops. 2 big 6'4" policemen standing on each side of the door, like my archangels.
Yeah.
And shocked the heck out of him, and I left and never looked back, never went back. I was completely done. But I just remember when I got into my own condo and when I was in my own full-time job and when I was doing things that I had never done, because I got married. I was a baby. I was, 18, 19 when I had my
Wow.
first kid, and I just remember being like, oh my gosh, this is so great.
Yeah.
I didn't know it would be easier. I didn't know I
Uh-huh.
was already doing all of it by myself anyway. Like,
Absolutely.
life is amazing, a freaking amazing. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, what was I so afraid of? Like, why did I ever let myself stay that long?
So I go back to society norms, right? They expect you to be married. They expect you to act a certain way. But it's up to you to define what world is right for you. And staying in an abusive relationship is in no way acceptable to anybody. And, you know, sometimes those closest to you don't know because you haven't shared what's really going on. Or sometimes you've been talking about how horrible it's been for years and they're just waiting for you to pull the plug. They're like, okay, how many more times are you going to let this happen? How many more times are you going to be spoken to this way? And it's that fear. I think a human, we all have it. Nobody wants to be alone, but I have always had the idea, I don't know where this one comes from, but I would rather be alone than lonely in a relationship. I would rather just be on my own 2 feet making my decisions than have someone controlling me. And I didn't imagine myself not being married or not having kids. That was not ever in the grand plan of my life. But I would have had 3 divorces now and God knows how many kids. And I would still be somehow connected to those people. I am so thankful that I walked out. I'm so thankful that I don't have to deal with them anymore. But yeah, would I like to have seen a different road for myself? Sure. But I still believe it'll happen. That's the other thing. I still have hope. I still have belief that that person, that right person is there for me. I've just been too damn busy working on me to make time for them.
Well, when you're ready,
Oh
then
yeah.
here kind of take the leap.
Totally. Totally. I mean, trust me, I'm having fun. I'm not but my choice right now is to work on me, my business, my clients, my projects. This is what brings me joy right now, and I wouldn't have the energy or time to dedicate to a healthy relationship. I just wouldn't. It would be very one-sided. So, I'm good with that right now.
I'm all for healthy relationships,
Absolutely.
and I'm all for working and plugging away and all of that in a healthy relationship. What you have to recognize is when you're in an unhealthy relationship that has no chance of changing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. And it is hard when you're in it. I mean, again, are you listening to your gut? Because instinctively, you know it's not right. I knew the second week I moved into his place, this was not going to be okay. It took me 2 years to get the courage to get out of there. Yeah. So I get it. But again, I was 28.
Well, I was very afraid.
Absolutely. And again,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want, I mean, everyone's going to know that this relationship failed. Like, what's the public going to say? And I was like, oh, whatever. I'm just so happy that's not my life. I mean, like, so thankful it's not my life. It's
And I'm
crazy.
so glad that you reached out to somebody, because I was in the habit of, from childhood, of there were so many secrets I had to keep,
Totally.
so many secrets. And so I was in the habit of everything has to look perfect on the outside,
Totally.
even when you're falling apart on the inside.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't let anyone know. We were in the industry together. Like, couldn't let anyone know. So this was my secret until I moved out. I couldn't because, again, appearances and the connections, and it's all intermingled. I know I had to keep my mouth shut. It was hard. And a
Yeah,
lot of people
I
were like,
mean,
what?
right. Oh
They
my
were
gosh.
shocked.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I mean, just stemming all the way back to when I talked in the last podcast, but we'll just go ahead. Since I was 8 years old, I mean, basically not, having a mom that had manic depression and being suicidal,
Mm.
she was dealing with her own problems.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't really protected, as a child. And so the person that was watching me when she wasn't well molested me. And so then
Ugh.
I remember, they paid me, like, I always say 50 pieces of silver, but basically a lot of silver
Right.
now. And it didn't go too far because I knew something, like, I was,
Wasn't right. Yeah.
but far enough. And I just remember telling my dad and telling my mom and crying and going to them. But they didn't, that was back then. Things were swept under the rug. It wasn't really
Right.
dealt with. I didn't see that person anymore or hang out with them. They came to holiday dinners, which that's a whole
Ugh.
nother, like,
Oh
you know,
God.
but I wasn't ever alone with them anymore, and the relationship was done. But I carried that shame and that secret. And so I see, when I think about it, carrying all those secrets is why you're stuck in those messes. So you've got to first
Abs-
tell somebody.
Absolutely.
If you're in any kind of a situation, you need to talk to somebody.
Totally. I mean, like you said, you got stuck at 8 years old. Like everything traumatic that happened to you then, you have been carrying around this huge wound. And until you were ready to really break it down and figure out like the damage it had done to you, you are carrying it into every other relationship you have. There's no way not to. I mean, that's just, it's how our bodies work. You go through a trauma, your body and brain like find a compartment for it, and they shove it back there, and it isn't until something triggers that again that you even maybe remember what these things are that happened to you, because nobody helped you deal with it at that age, which is the biggest shame, is that you should have been given the guidance then instead of having to carry this with you for so long. And that's, I might, again, all that empathy, it hurts me to know that they didn't stand up for you and that they didn't go to the authorities and you didn't get the help you needed then, because that wounded little girl has had a really hard life.
Yeah. I mean, truly. And
Yeah.
that's why I want to help other people out there, because I feel that there's a lot of shame surrounding that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You may carry shame, you may carry guilt that really isn't
Yours.
yours. Yeah.
No.
For
And
years. Like,
yeah.
I didn't really start healing until 55 years old, when I was talking to a business coach, and we were talking about my cover for my book, The Sisterhood of Sweat. And her name's Kate McKay. She's been on the episode quite a few times. On the podcast. And she said, what did you just say? Because we were
Yeah.
talking about the cover. And I want to be powerful and strong in the cover. I do not want to be put down in this little box people are trying to put me in. It was so
Mm-hmm.
important to me. And then I spelled out the reasons why, and it came out. And she was like, you just glossed over that. What did you just
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
And I did. I glossed over it like it was nothing, because that's what I've had to do ever since I was 8, like it was nothing. And that's when I really started recognizing and dealing and coming out, and stopped protecting, and stopped, like, just all of my healing started taking place. And I will have to give a shout out to the School of Greatness, because Lewis Howes is the first
Awesome.
person I ever heard talk about something like this on a podcast.
Yeah.
And it really gave me courage to start talking about my story as well.
Oh, well, that's great. And Lewis is wonderful, and his story is very powerful as well. And it's true. It's childhood shame, and you carry that with you, and it does create. Uh, it's like a domino effect. It's going to affect, even if you don't even realize it. It is affecting all your other relationships, because one, again, your your ego, you're inside there. They're trying to protect you, and yet you're trying to be this other person, and so your whole body is going back and forth. Like, it doesn't know which receptors to really click in on, and it's tough. And Well, I'm so glad you are on the other side of all of this,
Well,
because
of course.
and the fact that you want to give back and share with people, because nobody should have to go through that. Nobody should have to carry that with them ever. I mean, again, as a child, you are one innocent human being, and any adult that harms you, it is always their issue, not
Absolutely.
yours.
Absolutely. And
Not
I
yours.
see where that set me up to not understand proper boundaries. So
Mhm.
I can look back and see why I fell into certain situations. But at some point, you recognize you have the power, you have the choice. Yes, you may have been victimized, but you do not have to be a victim.
You
You
can change the narrative.
change the
Again,
narrative.
that's the thing. You don't have to stay
Yeah.
stuck in that world. You could say that forever, and then you'll never feel good about yourself, or you can use that narrative to propel you to greatness.
Well, you can change your story anytime you
Mhm.
choose. And
Absolutely.
I think a lot of us have stories about why we can't do, be, or have the things that we want in life.
Right.
And that's why I think it's so important to do what you do, which is to help women to have confidence.
100, because again, I see these really like outwardly powerful women, they have big jobs, attorneys, they're doctors, but when they take on a side business or they start a passion project and they hear a couple of no's, I watch them get so deflated. And I'm always like, why do you, why do you really care? But two, why is that no so traumatic to you? Because in reality, it's just a not right now. It's always a timing for the other person. It's just not the right timing for them. It has nothing to do with the qualities that you possess. But they take it so personally and internalize it. And then I'm always like, okay, well, what happened to you as a kid? Like, why are you taking that? No, did you get left out of kickball? Like, were you not the one being called on? What happened that another adult human is just saying, hey, I'm not interested right now, thank you, that is traumatizing to you? It shouldn't be. So I was finding this common denominator with so many women. I was like, okay, wait a second, I have been through shit and I'm okay with no's. Why are you not okay? So that's how this all kind of created. It was almost like a case study. I was like, what's going on with everyone? Why is this happening? And so,
Well,
yeah, we just had to kind of get to the root of what was, a behavioral issue or a society issue. Because somewhere along the line, someone told you weren't worthy, you weren't good enough, you weren't okay. And so when someone says no, you go right back to that wounded child. And it's like, come on, you're so much better than that. I wouldn't, I wouldn't be spending my time around you if I didn't think you were better than that. That's also like I'm like, come on, if I don't see this quality in you, why would I spend my time around you?
but you don't know the stories that are playing in their head. It's
Mm-hmm.
all about the stories you're telling yourself.
Absolutely.
Because you're adding extra things into why that person said no to you.
Of course.
And I think you also don't know where everybody's coming from. Like it took me a while after being beaten down like that in that marriage to build confidence. But I will tell you, when confidence began coming is when I began saying no and standing up.
Exactly.
That's when the confidence started to come. And when you stare fear in the face, or you stand up to a bully, or you say no,
Mm-hmm.
you start to develop some confidence because you start
Absolutely.
realizing that, hey, that person is just a coward.
Mm-hmm. It's their fear of being projected on you. So learning to set up those boundaries and learning to, again, like create a positive space for yourself will help you realize they're not saying no to you. They're just saying no to the timing. And it is amazing because people do come back to me years later, like, I wasn't interested then, but I am now. Or I've been watching you and now I'm curious, and it's fine. It's always, everyone's path is different. But to allow someone else's opinion to affect you to where it stops you from wanting to do more for yourself, no, that's where I step in. I'm like, come on. If you really want a change in your life, if you really want to do something different, you're going to have to do something different. You can't just sit on the couch and complain that nothing's happening. You can't, if you want something to change, you've got to make a change. And so that's really what I hope I'm bringing as a message to people. And I want to encourage, because again, I should be locked up somewhere, bouncing off some white walls if I really let everything that's happened to me in my life truly stop me. But I'm not going to. It's what created me, but it's not who I am.
Right. You're not what has happened to you.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Mm-mm.
There's always
No,
a choice. You may feel like there
always.
isn't, but there is always a choice no matter what situation you are in. Maybe you're in an unhappy marriage, but nobody's abusing, nobody's
Right.
cheating. You're
Just
just not
unhappy.
happy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we were put on this earth to be happy and,
Absolutely.
fully shining and nobody dimming our light.
Well, oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm laughing because my shirt says "Shine Your Light."
Oh,
Um,
there you go.
if you are not finding joy in the situation, make a change. But a lot of it has to do, again, with that internal voice, and that you haven't fixed, repaired, corrected that negative narrative that you're hanging out with. You're hanging on to that stuff from a long, long, long time ago. And part of what I like to do is address, like, okay, let's get to the root of why you are so fearful of this outcome. Like, why is this weighing so heavily on you? So we get to the root of it, and then we start to practice habits. There's meditation, there's setting intentions, there's physical exercise, there's eating well. You have to care for your whole body inside and out, and you got to do a lot of personal development. I mean, these last 8 years have been a huge growth for me in that world, because I wasn't acknowledging a lot of those things in my life prior to that. Sweep it under the rug and move on, sweep it under the rug and move on. I wasn't really feeling, learning, understanding why I was behaving certain ways. And I've gotten to do that. And I'm so happy that this clicked. Like, it's so funny. I was just at an event with Lewis, actually, in San Diego. And I turned to someone and I laughed. I go, "This is my drug. This is my drug of choice. I need to be around powerful, joyful, inspiring people who make me want to be a better person. That is my drug. I really don't care about anything else. I just want to be in this bubble of power, and like, but it's like a good power. It's like, again, lifting people up and having support, and people like going like, yes, you can do this. You can chase that dream. You're going to be on stage next year. This is going to be you talking next year." And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Who knew I'm going to be doing this next year? So it's that, to me, that's been like the greatest drug I could have ever found, is personal development.
And also, not like, if you're in a relationship, sometimes your partner may not understand the whole personal growth experience,
Absolutely.
and you can't give up everything you are for someone.
No,
So if something lights you up inside, just because somebody doesn't understand it doesn't mean you should stop it or put it on the shelf. Because
absolutely.
if you keep putting things on the shelf that light you up, pretty soon you're not even going to know who you are anymore. And
And
that
you'll
is the
resent them.
whole thing with people pleasing.
Totally. And then you'll resent them, and then you'll be angry. I always say, share what you're doing with your spouse, significant other. Share, let them know. They will either decide to join you or to stand on the sidelines. But a lot of people are afraid of growth. And, that's their own fear, again, reflecting on you. For them to say something negative about you wanting to better yourself only shows that they're insecure about it as well. So I'm always just like, leave the door open for them. If they want to join you, awesome. If not, they're going to see you glow in a whole other way, and they're going to realize they either have to get on board or they're going to have to let you go.
Yeah. What are you going to, I mean, are you going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're uncomfortable with me shining. I'll wait until
Hmm.
you're ready for me to do
Yeah.
that"?
I've heard a lot of women have that conversation with the man they're with, that they put them down. They're like, "Who are you to think you can be this? Who are you to think you can do this?" And I'm like, "You're the person who always wanted to do this. You just gave it up because you thought you had to be a certain wife or partner to someone. stop trading in your wants and needs for somebody else. Now, I'm not saying don't be in a very, again, back to healthy
You have to be
relationships. It's like,
respectful.
right, give and take,
Yeah.
but do not let somebody else's fears affect the world and life that you want to live. It's just
You
not.
have to be who you are. So there's the essence of, I got spanked when I would go barefoot when I was a kid. And innately, I just wanted to take those shoes off.
Absolutely.
That's who I was. And now I find out there's this whole thing called grounding. It's actually healthy
Yes.
for you
Go
to
step
go
out in that.
barefoot and put your feet into
Exactly.
the earth. But I just think, are you around someone? I just think of that whole analogy that's spanking you for who you are. Like,
Yeah.
do you feel afraid to be who you really are? Do you hide pieces of yourself? Because that is not a relationship.
No, or not one that I want to be in. And I see plenty of people doing it.
Right.
And they're sacrificing their own happiness, again, for appearances or to make other people feel happy. And again, I don't think any relationship is easy. But again, did you ask those questions in the beginning? Did you find out, were you guys on the same path? Or did you ever have the discussion? Because it's oftentimes people get married young and they don't realize who they're going to become later. And that's totally understandable. But why are you not having the conversations as it's happening? Why are you afraid to talk to them about this? That's a big sign right there. If you're not telling them that you need and want to do these things to feel better, you know that they're not on board with what you're doing. So it's right there in front of you. You're just not acknowledging it.
Or you need to have the courage to just have the conversation, and maybe it won't turn out badly. You have to give people a chance to be able to absorb
Absolutely.
what you're doing. And also, I just think putting yourself in their place, sometimes it is scary when someone you feel is growing away from you. But if you invite them to come along with you and tell them what you're doing.
How cool if they join you.
Right.
Like, give them the option to join you. Give them the option to dig into what you're loving. But I wouldn't be afraid to share it with them. Listen, I also know a lot of marriages and relationships where they have different lives, but they come together because they have another purpose, and it's okay that they have other interests and they do different things. But there's a core agreement, there's something else in their relationship that's keeping them together. I don't say you don't all have to be together and be perfect and do the same thing all the time. I'm just saying if they're not going to join you, let's have them encourage you. Let's have them be supportive of you.
I think it's just having the conversation, but also having the courage to, I think a lot of the times women are the nurturers, the givers, and they feel that
burned
they have
out
something for themselves or
yes.
that it's selfish to have a dream, And I just think that dream is in you for a reason. It's your life for a reason. It was given to you.
Yeah.
If God wanted somebody else to have your life, he would have given it to them. So like Mommy Millionaire said in my last podcast, she wrote over her bathroom mirror, "I am the captain of my life."
Yep. 100%.
I love that.
I think it was 2 years ago. Oh my gosh. Just about 2 years ago, I had a session with Shaman Durek, who I absolutely adore. And I actually went to him thinking he could help me connect to my mom. I was like, I want to just be open to be able to connect with her. And I have some questions. And I walked into this room, and the first question he asked me about my work and what I did. And I could barely say anything. I'm like, I help out. I couldn't get 2 words out. And he was like, "The council says you're not living your truth." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "The council says you're not living your truth. You have a creative life that you are not living." I'm like, "No, I'm not the creative person. I represent the creative person. I am behind the scenes person. I help other people." He's like, "No, you are the creative soul, and your life's purpose has not been met yet. You are not doing your work. They are on you. They're watching you. You are not doing your life's purpose yet." I was like, "What?" I'm working my ass off. What are you talking about? But it was this aha moment, things I maybe thought about long ago, or I never even gave energy to, because I never thought I had the qualities, the abilities, whatever, I never saw myself in the position I am now. I didn't ever, ever, ever. But that session with him left me thinking like, well, like I wanted to start a podcast. I go, does the podcast count? Because I've been wanting to do a podcast for 2 years. I just haven't started it. He's like, that's a start. And it was just like, oh, so there's more to that. And that's, kind of how this all evolved and where the Confidence Crown came from, because I thought I was doing my life's work. I was already empowering women. I was already helping them build businesses. I was already like doing my whole positive, go get 'em life. But he's like, no, that's not it. There's more. There's more. And I was like, oh my God. And so every time I tell him, okay, I did this now. He's like, there's more. I'm like, oh my God. There's more. There's more.
I think you come to this conclusion. I have come to it, I should say, where if you're feeling, who am I to do this? It's probably what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm. I tell this story. 100. I was so freaking fearful of public speaking. I avoided it like the plague. In school and college, I made sure none of my majors required it. I, again, always have been behind the camera, telling other people what to do. I can see other people's light, and I'm always like, go for it, go for it, go for it. This is what we're doing. Never did I acknowledge my own light, and never, ever did I see myself on this side of the camera.
That's exactly why.
Ever.
You should be doing it.
And that's really what he was like hitting me over the head with. He's like, And I was like, God, really? So I had to get over it. I had to figure it out. I had to grow. I had to practice. I had to try new things. I had to figure out how to get over that fear. And I am so happy to teach other people how to do it, because again, I am the example. I was so not, I hated having my picture taken, all of it. Now I'm like, okay, bring on talk show. Where are we going? I'm going on stage. Where are we going? It's a whole other life. And I did not see it as a kid. People tell me, oh, I don't want to do that. I can't imagine myself. I didn't know I was going to do this either. Even 8 years ago, I didn't know I was going to do this. It's just as it comes up, as I'm challenged to try new things, I'm taking them. I just do it, because it's awesome to get on the other side and be like, I did that too. Oh my God. I didn't know I could do it. I didn't know I could do that.
Well, there you go. You have to have that attitude. Well, I don't know. Let's see. I'll try it out.
What's the worst that's going to happen?
Right.
You're already stuck somewhere. Try it. Were you going to stay? Okay. It's like, that's what cracks me up. I'm like, you're not progressing currently. So why not try it? The worst is you're going to stay. You know what? You're going to actually have taken 2 steps forward because you tried something. And that's an improvement.
It gives you courage to try something else.
Totally. But talking about it, wanting it, wondering, thinking about wanting it, just go do it. Just try it. Jesus Louise. Honestly, the worst that's going to happen is that you got to do it again and get better at it. That's all.
Right. Suck until you don't.
Totally. And that is life, people. That is life. Nobody knows how to do all this stuff when they're born. We all have to learn.
Oh my gosh. So I love this whole message today. I could keep talking to you, but we have to we have to fly. Oh my gosh, you guys. So where can everybody reach you on social media and get your book, StrongHER?
Thank you so much. So I am on IG, The Confidence Crown. And actually, there's an awesome new link in there, and you can find the book, you can find my podcast, you can find out everything else I'm doing. So click the link in the bio, and you'll find everything about me. And their website is also theconfidencecrown.com. And I will be heading into your headspace before you know it. I'm coming to get all of you.
I just want to acknowledge you so much for being such a light of positivity, so bubbly.
Thank you.
Just so open. And I can see that you would be a good coach to people, that you're in the right space.
Thank you. I really do love it. It brings me joy.
Well, I mean, I can totally, it started turning on right during the show. I could see your capabilities in that
Thank you.
arena. So I just want to salute you and tell everybody to go out and support her and buy her book, Strong Her, and look
Thank
her
you.
up and listen to her podcast.
I appreciate that so much, Linda. It was wonderful chatting with you today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. And thanks
Thank
for
you.
listening to the Sisterhood of Sweat.